The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to LSRTV's live coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series presented by English Auto L.L.C. We are live tonight for an action-packed night of all-star racing, beginning with the All-Star Open race. Live here in the booth for tonight, for the Open race here tonight, is myself, Brian Macklin. We're also going to have series admin Austin Coop in the booth, and for a short period of time, Cisco Scaramouche is going to join us as well. He's going to be down in the production trailer pressing buttons, and he's going to try to talk at the same time, so we're going to have to see how that goes. But before we get to that, Austin, it is All-Star Racing Week, and this is going to be a very, very fun race. I love All-Star Week because these guys can come out here and have a lot of fun, and the admins can really change things up with their own little rules package, and they have their own little formats, and I believe you come up with a really exciting format for tonight's race. Can you go ahead and give us an idea on what we're going to see here tonight?
Yeah, for this first race, we're gonna have a open race with 33 laps. That's going to also have a mandatory trip down pit road, but not a mandatory tire take. These guys will have to go into their box completely, but they don't have to take tires. And this is really interesting because they also have to make it during a certain period of the race. They have to come down between, I think it's going to be lap 14 through 17, and that's really important because that gives some guys enough time to take that time off of pit road and really make some track position. But if you take the 4 tires, that will make you much faster, and it's right in that sweet spot of, do I take tires, do I stay out, or do I come down pit road and only take do I not take any and do that and basically have a 0-second pit stop as opposed to a 13 to 14 second pit stop. 14 seconds is a big deal, and maybe they can get that time back on the track, but that's kind of the name of the game for this open. Then we'll have two more, or a feature after that, which has 3 stages, which will be really fun as well.
Absolutely, and of course in this All-Star Open race tonight, these drivers will be fighting for 6 positions. 6 of these drivers will transfer to the All-Star race here tonight. Of course, we have 15 drivers already locked into that race tonight. You have our past champions, Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock, that are locked in, and then drivers that have won races this year, Spencer Preet, Daniel Eberhardt, Brandon Bowie, Rodney Walford have all won races. They are locked in, and then drivers based on points have already gained themselves a spot into the All-Star race tonight as well. Seth the Merchant, Michael Guerrilla, Nick Silver, Michael Cozy Jr., Tommy Ryan, Dylan Jones, Sean Casto, Andrew Freenar, Shane Ewing, and Gabriel Wood have all already gained themselves a spot in the All-Star race. We're about to go racing here tonight. The grid is set. We're going to very quickly go through the starting lineup for tonight's race, and it looks like Carl Shedd will start from the pole here tonight, and to his outside, Ross Cato will start in that P2 position. Starting in the 3rd position here tonight is Tommy Ryan. Galen Gidman will start 4th, and Lionel Callisto will start 5th here tonight.
Then going to be starting 6th, going to be Kyle Kamer in that number 8 machine. Starting 7th, going to be Daniel Falkingham. Braden Whitaker going to start 8th, with 9th place going to Dwight Beverly, and Brandon Bowie rounds out your top 10.
Starting in the 11th position here tonight is Sean Casto. Randy Yoakum will start from the 12th position. Then we have Drew Adamson starting 13th. Andrew Jones will start 14th. We have Mike Taylor in 15th. He was the last driver to take a time here tonight, and then the last 3 drivers all took a provisional for this. Eric Stanford, Scott Walter are both starting at the back of this field here tonight. So 17 drivers rather, going to be fighting for 6 positions. Cisco, it's going to be a very exciting race, and as we just heard Austin Coop talking about, a mandatory pit stop that these guys are going to have to take between laps 14 and 17. But the catch is they do not have to actually get any service done to the car. They can just stop in their box and then take off. What kind of strategies do you think we're going to see play out through this short race here tonight?
Well, I think it's ultimately going to depend, Brian, on what these guys are feeling as the race goes on. Keep in mind, we're not using the restricted format of what the guys used last Saturday. So the closest kind of analog that we have to this was actually the OCRL All-Star race that we had about a week and a half ago or so. And what we saw out of that was the fact that the tire fall off did eventually hit the drivers, but if you knew how to conserve your stuff, it definitely was going to pay off. So it would not surprise me to see somebody try to take 2 tires and make that work, but if I was one of these guys here, I'd play it safe, take 4. Looking at it, we have about 16 cars on the grid, so honestly, Brian, that tells me I have to be ahead of 10 guys. I like my chances of taking 4, especially if I'm kind of mid-pack, because I'll probably come out of pit road around 12th or 13th or so, and that means I only have to pass about 6 or 7 cars on 4 tires. I'm already going to be faster than that, so I like the idea of taking 4 tires, but that's just me.
Well, I think it really depends on the situation that each driver is in. Of course, if you're Carl Shedd and you're leading this race at lap 14 or lap 15 and you decide you're going to come to pit road, why not take the 4 tires? You don't want to put yourself in a position where you might be at a disadvantage. Get the tires, that way you know you're going to be able to be on offense for that last stage of this race. But if you're a guy that's sitting outside of that top 6, say you're a Mike Taylor or an Eric Stanford and you haven't made up that track position, you might need to go for the 2 tires or maybe just to stop and go on pit road in order to try to get yourself that track position. And put yourself in a position to get into this thing. So I think it's going to be very exciting here. We're about to find out. These guys are in turn 3. We're about to go green flag for this All-Star Open race. It's going to be an action-packed event, and we're glad to have you guys along at a special time here tonight. Of course, the All-Star race starts shortly after this race concludes, but the pace car is about to duck to the safety of pit road, and we're about to see what happens. 33 laps of action here at Charlotte, and Carl Shedd is in control for this short little race. Green flag in the air, and they are down and away and on the loud pedal already as Carl Shedd tries to step away from these guys. Ross Cato's on the outside, but he's got Lionel Callisto battling hard on the bottom as they head to 1 for the first time.
Yeah, we had a little hiccup in the back. The O2 had a bad start, but remember, these guys have a long race. It is 33 laps, but it's going to be a long race due to that pit road procedure that these guys are going to have to do. No mistakes at all. And you saw number 1 of Daniel Funkingham slide right into the back straightaway. He's in 5th right now, and he's got a couple drivers behind him, including Braden Whitaker and Andrew T. Jones. They are going to be right at the cusp. That's going to be the guys you're going to be wanting to watch as we get headed into the first and second lap here, going through corner number 1 and 2. And Carl Shedd's already got himself a pretty big lead here, and you guys see all the drivers behind him, single file for the time being, but it won't be like that forever. We definitely know that.
Absolutely. These guys are going to be patient at this point of the run because they know they just need to get into a rhythm and they need to establish this run. But once they get to that point where they're going to have to come to pit road and get those tires or make whatever decision they're going to make on pit road, that's when this thing is really going to get exciting, as we do see a battle beginning to form around the number 4 machine of Braden Whitaker and the number 1 of Daniel Falkingham. Actually, that's the 1 and the 8 of Kyle Kamer right in front of him, rather. They're side by side. That's for 4th and 5th position. That's ahead of the transfer spots to get into it. But these guys, they have to be mindful of that. They're racing for those positions. They are currently inside those transfer spots, but if they get into it, they could potentially fall out of those spots. So they have to be very careful here not to make any major mistakes that could cost them their top 6 positions.
And one of the things you're going to have to keep in mind, Brian, as well, is you have that pit stop, so you have to be extremely careful rolling into and out of the box. We saw it in the World 600 just one night ago. Evan Black, who had one of the most dominant cars in that race, threw away several chances at leading laps, all because he kept sliding through the pit box. So you have to make sure that that pit stop, even if you're not even taking tires, you cannot have a mistake on there. Make sure you get into your box, everything goes well there, and you leave the pit box, because any sort of mistake, you're going to wind up like Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson after All-Star qualifying on last Friday, because they found themselves way at the back. Well, different circumstances, obviously, but nonetheless, it's easy to slide through your pit box.
It is very easy to slide through your pit box. I actually was running a race here just the other day, and I did just that. I was coming into pit road, and I just made that mental mistake where you just slide through, and it costs you so much time. And the problem is it could end up being under green here in this race. It more than likely will end up under green, and that means more time being lost than if it happens under caution. So even more so a reason to be very, very careful to not make that mistake. But as all this is going on, a nice little battle shaping up at the back half of this top 10. Mike Taylor and Drew Adamson going at it for position. They're not in a transfer spot currently, but they are going after it like they need to be to try to get into position to go up there and challenge those guys. You see Drew Adamson down on the bottom in that number 82 machine. He is trying to make something happen now with Andrew T. Jones. That's a battle for 7th and 8th position. You see Andrew goes way high, and Adamson's going to take that position, but Andrew T. Jones is going to fight back on the outside line to try to take that position back.
And Adamson right now alongside trying to make it work. Talked to him last Monday and has been, kind of frustrated with the fact that this team has not been able to find success where they'd like, and perfect opportunity to come out here to Charlotte and try and make things happen. He's got to get past Jones, and then he's got Whitaker in front of him that he'll have to deal with. But down to the bottom side goes the 82, a little bit loose there, but Drew trying to find his line. He's going to get around the 64, but Jones going to stay with him as they come off the corner, and hanging tough right there is Drew Adamson.
And the problem for these guys right now is they're battling for those positions, but they have lost touch with the top 6 drivers. They're about 7 to 8 tenths of a second off of the 6th place driver, and that's not what you need. And this is where we were talking about that strategy. When they come to pit road here in less than 10 laps now, they're going to have to make a decision. Do they want the 4 tires so they can hard charge to the end of this thing, or do they want to go for 2 tires or possibly no tires to try to make up some of that ground? They're actually a full second behind the 6th place car right now. So this is a strategy that's going to be ever changing for these drivers in the middle of the pack, and even for the guys at the front of the pack. They have to be mindful of what's going on behind them in order to make that decision. So it's one of those things. I don't necessarily know that I want to be the guy that makes that decision for the driver, because it could end up being the wrong one, and it certainly could be the one that ends up keeping you from moving on to the All-Star race.
Yeah, that would not be good, Brian. You want to make sure your strategy, it's going to match what you're able to do on track. If you're going to go out and take those 4 tires, you can't afford to have a slow car because you're not going to have enough time to make it up. But on the other hand, if it's worth gambling the 2 tires, just make sure if you can hold on to it with those 2 tires, or at least fall back to anywhere before that 6th place position so you can still make it into the race and out of the open here.
And we are fast approaching the window to open for these guys to come to pit road again. That window is from lap 14 to 17 in this race, and they do not have to take tires if they choose to. They just have to come to pit road, stop in their pit box. What they do from that point on is their decision, but they are very close to having to make that call for all these drivers. And it's going to be exciting to see these guys doing it under green flag conditions, because they're going to have to slow these cars down from almost 180 miles an hour coming off of turn 4 to get on the pit road and get down to pit road speed. And as you mentioned, no mistakes, Cisco. You talked about Evan Black having his mistakes in the World 600 a couple of nights ago. You cannot afford a mistake like that under a green flag pit stop. If you're Carl Shedd and you slide through your box, that couple of seconds could end up knocking you out of the top 6 and put you in a position where you have to race back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to force these guys to be nigh on perfect here on pit road, which is something, as far as the rules have gone, they've been able to adapt to. One of the new changes this season was the fact that we had those pit boxes. That was a new rule for these guys. It took them a little while to get it sorted, but after they did, they were fine. Same thing with the pit boxes. Being able to hit the pit boxes was same sort of deal, but mistakes are still made every once in a while. It's why they call them mistakes. And so if you're one of these top 6 guys, do not throw it away. You look at the gap right now. Braden Whitaker has over Drew Adamson. He doesn't want to lose that because he messes up on pit road, but if I know Drew and those guys, I think some tire strategy probably going to be in order there for the driver of the 82 and probably the 81 as well for Mike Taylor.
Well, we're about to find out, because the window for coming to pit road is officially open. It's lap 14, so from now until the end of lap 17, all these drivers must come to pit road, and we'll wait and see when and how they decide to do that, looking to see if anybody is going to duck to pit road. And Carl Shedd, along with our second-place runner Lionel Kalisto, looks like a handful of these drivers up.
Oh, there goes Kalisto.
And Kalisto's hard into the inside wall, made heavy contact trying to get slowed down, and that's the mistake that you cannot have, and that heavy damage on the 97 machine could be the difference difference maker between him making it into the All-Star race and potentially not. We'll have to see if he elects to try to get the damage fixed, and if he doesn't, where he comes out when it's all said and done. But now these guys have to get into their box cleanly. It looks like everybody at the front of this pack is going to get in nice and clean. Everybody's now in here. It looks like they're going to get at least 2 tires. I don't see anybody that's going to just do a gas and go. And from what I can see down here, it looks like all of these drivers are going to take 4, except for Callisto. He's going to take 2, and he's already down and away, battling with Carl Shedd to get off pit road first.
He doesn't have a choice, Brian. He lost all that time spinning out on pit road. I think Callisto's going to take a dart to the wall and see if he can make something happen. So 2 tires for the 97. Everybody else out on 4. A couple cars still out on track. Kyle Kamer has not come down pit road yet. Drew Adamson as well. 2 cars waited a lap and then came down. You see the Patriot Fire Machine of Dwight Beverly, Mike Taylor in the number 81. Both 8 coming down. Is Adamson? Yes, Adamson going to hit pit road as well. A little bit of damage there on Drew's machine, but looking through the rest of your field, Taylor going to take, it's a 10-second pit stop, so that's 2 tires for him. He's going to get ahead of Beverly there. Beverly taking 4, but the problem is Beverly has 4 and he's right behind Taylor. He's going to blast right past him here when they roll off pit road, and all as it sits right now, Lionel Callisto sitting in the 5th position when they came out of pit road, so we'll have to see how it all cycles out. But you see DJ Beverly going right around Drew Adamson here, and then let's take a look. Where's Callisto? Callisto running 5th right now, Brian, ahead of Cato, ahead of Falkingham, but it's all going to matter to see where Drew Adamson's going to come out. Adamson, 4 tires, so he's going to try and take a stab at it. It's all really going to rest between that battle between Drew Adamson here, Brian, and Lionel Callisto. Is Adamson going to be able to catch him, or is it really not going to matter? Does he have too much damage, or is it going to be somebody else? Maybe Dwight Beverly going to take advantage here?
Well, I think Callisto is definitely in trouble right now because he's got some very heavy damage to that car. Never mind the fact that he took 2 tires. I mean, that was the only decision he could make in that moment, was getting 2 tires, try to shorten your pit stop as much as possible so that you don't lose all that time, because even with 4 tires, you're not going to be able to keep pace on speed. So this was the only decision he could make. I don't know that he's going to be able to hold on with 15 laps left in this race to stay inside the top 6, but it was a valiant effort to try to make up for, as we've already talked about, a mistake that was made on pit road, and that's just one of those things. You cannot make those types of mistakes in order to try to get into the race like this, but it's just one of those things. You're trying to get the car down from 180 miles an hour down to 50 in that short a period of time. It is one of the hardest things to do as a driver. You're used to going that fast, and all of a sudden you've got to jam on the brakes and hope that you can get the car down to speed, and it was just one of those things. He could not get the car down to speed under control, and it was just a very unfortunate set of circumstances for him. Currently in that 5th position, and he is just about a second and a half, not even at this point, ahead of Braden Whitaker, who would take that position and put him into the 6th position. And I'm like you now, it's going to fall back to, can Dwight Beverly catch him in these last 13 laps to take that position away?
And so you look at that battle for what will be the transfer spot. Right now, Braden Whitaker's in that slot, but that'll go down to Dwight Beverly once Whitaker gets around Callisto here. So it's really going to be a case of Dwight Beverly, Randy Yoakum, Drew Adamson. Those 3, I think, probably within a shout, but Randy Yoakum's 2.5 seconds back, so not really in range of Dwight Beverly here. So I think it's going to come down to the fact, can Beverly do anything with Callisto? He should have enough time to get to him. Yeah, he will do so. He's right there. So it really comes down to, can Yoakum catch Beverly before it's too late? Adamson gonna get way loose. Just got that out of the corner of my eye. Nose chopped off of him, and just like that, heading towards the inside. Whoa, he'll hold on to it.
Wow, what a save by Drew Adamson. He was dealing with that all the way from the middle of 1 and 2 to about halfway down the back straightaway. I mean, that was incredible. He lost it, got control of it, and then got ran into the back of by Andrew Jones, who kicked him back sideways again. And somehow, as he's drifting down the back straightaway, he's able to point that car back in the right direction once again and keep it out of the wall and out of trouble. So impressive. But the unfortunate part about that is now he is that much further behind. He's almost 7 seconds behind Lionel Callisto, who currently holds that 6th position, and actually he just lost that 6th position to Dwight Beverly, who was able to move in. So now Lionel Callisto is going to need some help if he's going to get back into the top 6. One of these drivers in front of him is going to have an issue, or we probably will not see Callisto in the All-Star race here tonight, which is unfortunate for those guys. but I'm looking at the guys ahead of him, and pretty much everybody in the top 6 have gotten very spread out, Cisco. There's really not a whole lot of racing going on, and if I'm one of these drivers, that's exactly what I want. I don't want to be around another driver that could potentially make a mistake that's going to cost me a spot in this top 6. I want to just go out there and hit my own marks for the next 9 laps and just be clean to the end.
Well, yeah, so that's going to leave Carl Shed right now in first. Long ways off. He won't have to worry about it. Ross Cato sitting in a good position. Second, right behind him, Daniel Falkingham sitting in a good position in third. Then you got Kyle Kamer, Braden Whitaker sitting in that 5th position, and then Dwight Beverly in that last transfer spot ahead of Callisto here, and Kamer took lefts, but I think he'll be able to hold on to it at this point. Yoakum, who would be the car, or rather Callisto, the car to threaten, as Callisto now up in smoke, the engine expiring on that Ford Fusion.
And that will officially eliminate Callisto on his bid to try to make it into the All-Star race tonight. A valiant effort. He had so much speed in that car, but the mistake coming on to pit road for his scheduled pit stop just did not go his way, and now you can just see that car is smoking as he comes to a crawl down the back straightaway. But we're down inside the last 8 laps of this All-Star Open race. We've got 6 drivers that are in control right now. Carl Shed, Ross Cato, Daniel Falkingham, Kyle Kamer, Braden Whitaker, and Dwight Beverly, the top 6 drivers right now. And one thing that I think is very interesting, Cisco, is we're running this race in a late afternoon setting. The All-Star race is going to be ran at night, so they're not really going to be able to transfer too much over from this race as far as how the car is driving. It's going to be completely different race conditions when they get out there for the All-Star race. So these guys, they may think they have the advantage of having some track time, but really they're not going to have much of an advantage over those drivers that are actually already in the race.
The only advantage they'll really have, Brian, is if some of the drivers in the All-Star race haven't been able to get a whole lot of practice at Charlotte this week. That's about the only advantage you're going to be able to have. Everything else basically going to go out the window, and these guys maybe at a little bit of a disadvantage because the practice session should be up here, or at the very least they've had time to go out and practice the night Charlotte set up. These guys had to focus on getting through the Open first, so I think for them it's going to be a hard sell to try and be able to come in advantage, but we'll just have to find out as we come to start lap number 28. About 6 laps to go here.
6 laps to go in this All-Star Open race, and for these 6 drivers, it's going to feel like an eternity to complete these 6 laps because that's all they have to do to guarantee themselves a spot in the All-Star race here tonight, and that's going to be a very exciting race in its own right. We'll have to go over that format here in just a couple of minutes, but that's going to be extremely exciting because we have a couple of things that are going on in that race, Cisco, including a green flag pit stop where pit road speed will not be enforced, which is going to be absolutely insane to watch these drivers try to do. It's going to be much like we saw in the All-Star qualifying for the Monster Energy Cup, guys. It's going to be very wild to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think we'll have to make sure that Denny doesn't slide through the old pit box, right there, Brian?
Hey, easy now. But you are indeed right. That's going to be a very big thing that you're not going to be able to do in that race because that's going to be in actual race conditions. That's not just going to be for a qualifying lap. That's going to be during the actual race. So it's going to be very important to not make that mistake. Much like we saw Callisto make here, the difference is now they don't have to worry about getting down to 50 miles an hour. They can storm down pit road and get as much speed on pit road as they can before stopping in their pit box. But that creates that issue of how much is too much before you end up actually overshooting your box and maybe doing like we saw Denny Hamlin do or Kyle Larson do in the All-Star qualifying format where Kyle Larson slid, 3 or 4 boxes past where he was supposed to be because he couldn't get the car slowed down.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. There's a couple drivers, but chief in mind for me is going to be Eberhardt to see because we know Dan likes to drive aggressively. I think his pit road entry, I'm just going to leave the camera on the car. It's a bit like watching Kyle Larson do it. You know what to expect.
Oh, absolutely. Daniel Eberhardt is one of the most aggressive drivers in general when it comes to pitting under green, and now he's not going to have a pit road speed to be worried about, so he's going to be able to just do what he wants. But we're down to 2 laps to go left in this All-Star Open race, and it looks like unless we have any types of issues, the top 6 drivers are going to advance and be able to hold on to that spot. Kyle Kamer was one of those drivers that took a little bit of a gamble. He took just 2 left side tires on his pit stop. He came out in the 3rd position. He has fallen to that transfer spot in the 6th position, but he has about 3 seconds over Randy Yoakum, so as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he's going to advance. But Carl Shed's coming to the white flag in this All-Star Open race. He's just got to complete another 1.5 miles to bring it home.
Yeah, Shed, right now, white flag in the air for the driver of the Chef Andy's Lobster Roll machine at Ford Fusion that has been towards the front of the field. Not had the success like he did last year, but still looking to have a strong run here in the open. He'll transfer on into the All-Star race, just has 2 more corners to make it happen.
Carl Shed comes out of turn 4 for the end of this race, and he will take the checkered flag in the All-Star Open. He's going to advance to the All-Star race here tonight, and he's going to carry that victory with him. Ross Cato is going to come across in 2nd, Daniel Falkingham 3rd, Braden Whitaker will finish 4th, Dwight Beverly in 5th, and Kyle Kamer did hold on with those 2 left side tires to finish in the 6th and final transfer spot to make it into the All-Star race tonight. So for those 6 drivers, they get to move on. For the others, unfortunately, this is where their night will come to an end.
Yeah, and they'll have to watch from the sidelines here and see what is going to happen in the All-Star race. But let's take a look at your full race results here, and we'll count everybody who wasn't able to make it into the All-Star race proper. Carl Shed, like you said, he finishes first. Ross Cato, Daniel Falkingham, Braden Whitaker, Dwight Beverly, Kyle Kamer. Your 6 drivers who will move on into the All-Star race. Then those who are getting sent home: Randy Oakham, Drew Adamson, Andrew Jones, Mike Taylor, and then Eric Stanford, Lionel Kalisto, Galen Gidman, Tommy Ryan, Brandon Bowie, Sean Casto, and Scott Walter. Your 17 drivers there in total who put an entry into the Open. Some of those drivers not taking track, but everybody else, those top 6, they're going to race into the All-Star race here tonight. Well, we're going to take a moment to step aside here on LSR TV and get things queued up. Day will go tonight, and we'll get set for some All-Star racing here at Charlotte. You're watching the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series presented by English Auto LLC right here on your home for sim racing, LSR TV. Stay with us. All-Star Racing is next.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
I'm driving the number 20 JGR Toyota Xfinity car this weekend. Really great opportunity here at New Hampshire at my home track. Over the past few weeks, I've been on iRacing, practicing a little bit here and there with the modified and the NASCAR Xfinity car, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great tool for me to kind of get used to that stock car body again and be prepared for the race today. Well, yeah, it's a mile long, so the draft kind of plays into effect here with the modifieds. Punches a big hole in the air, and we run restrictor plates. So it makes a big difference. Just really fast, and it's our Daytona. So that's what's great about it, and we have a fast car for tomorrow. I think the biggest thing is they're heavier cars. The tire's a lot different. And the way you go about setting them up is a lot different. They use all 4 tires more than a modified, where we typically drive off the right rear, you know, so. Well, actually, it's funny. I raced NASCAR race in 2003 before iRacing came about. And then when iRacing came about, my friend Kevin Iannarelli, who works at iRacing, kind of told me, hey, man, you need to switch over to this. And when I did, I was like, oh, my God, this is like real life. So I started using it as a tool of mine to really prepare for modified races, whether it was Stafford or Thompson or Loudon, Bristol, and then obviously the Xfinity Series last year, going to road courses, trying to get laps, and use it as a tool that can get me as prepared as I could be without actually doing it. So it's been great.
Back live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, you're watching LSRTV's coverage of the 2018 Real Sim Racing All-Star Race from NASCAR's backyard. Just wrapping things up moments ago with the Real Sim Racing All-Star Open. Race winner Carl Shedd punching his ticket into tonight's main event along with everybody else inside of the top 6 finishing positions. We went through it just as we set the side. Cato, Falkenham, Whitaker, Beverly, and and Kyle Kamer, the other 5 drivers. And now we get set to go main event racing. Evan Pasoko and Brian Backlund with you with the LSRTV booth. Happy that you're with us on a Monday night as always. And Brian, as you and Cisco had discussed there in the open, obviously a little bit different how we're doing things here tonight. And again, the drivers who had to go through that open to qualify into this race were all the drivers running full time in the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C, not already qualified in. This is our feature race, the prior series champions and of course race winners having the automatic qualification into this All-Star. They'll be accompanied by those final 6 transfers, but the format for this All-Star race is going to be completely different. Instead of 133 lap dash, we're going to be talking about 3 different stages that we'll break down in a moment.
It's going to be a very exciting race. I'm anticipating this is going to be one of the better races that we have seen in this series all season long, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see how this thing shapes up. But for those drivers that were in the All-Star Open race, Evan Pasoko, they had to race this track under late afternoon conditions. The sun was still up. There was still some heat in the track that otherwise will not be in the track right now. So while, yes, they had the advantage of having some track time, they have the disadvantage of not really knowing how the car is going to react under the lights here tonight for this race. So it's going to be a little bit of an unknown for a couple of those drivers unless they were able to get out on track for a couple of practice laps before this thing gets kicked off, which it looks like a couple of them are on track right now. But it's still going to be a disadvantage for those drivers because they got used to how the cars were driving in the late afternoon conditions, and now they have to change their driving style completely to match what they're going to be doing tonight.
And you can see the drivers right now. We discussed earlier that it is going to be an open pit lane ability. Drivers are currently practicing some trips down to the pit lane to see just how aggressive they can be coming on and off of what is a relatively difficult pit road entry, Brian. Anyways, at Charlotte, very sharp left-hand turn down in 3 and 4. And because the transition from the banking to the flat is so abrupt here at Charlotte, as we ride on board with the moment for Gabe Wood, as we see what the L.L.C machines do down trackside at the moment, because it's such an abrupt transition down, you got to slow way down if you want to approach that on the apron. So oftentimes you're still on the banking when you make that left-hand turn down to get down to pit road, and of course avoid that pit road wall that sticks out basically right to the entrance. So it's difficult under normal circumstances, going to be extra difficult under these circumstances here tonight for the All-Star.
Well, we saw in the All-Star Open race, Lionel Callisto made a mistake coming on the pit road for his mandatory pit stop. He actually spun the car out and hit the inside wall, and as a result did not finish top 6 in that race, and was not eligible to transfer because of that. But because of certain drivers that were not able to make it here tonight for this All-Star race, they took drivers that were on the outside based on points. They moved them into a position based on however many drivers were not able to make it. So Lionel Callisto was actually able to make it to the All-Star race here tonight. So fortunately for him, he was able to make it in despite that mistake on pit road. And now we are on board with David Comstock. He's out there turning a couple of laps, and you can just see how fast these cars are going. Evan Pasoko, 175 miles an hour through the corners, almost 200 miles an hour down the straightaways. And as you mentioned, when they come to pit road, they're going to have to make that sharp left-hand turn. It's going to be very challenging for these drivers.
And let's talk a little bit more about this Charlotte Motor Speedway 1.5 mile quad oval. Every time we come here, we tell you that you already know about it, and that's true. If you're on the service, of course, it's in fact, it is the only 1.5 mile track that you get with a basic iRacing subscription. It doesn't matter if you're racing in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series or Rookie Street Stocks, you're going to race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But of course, very popular track because it's in Concord, North Carolina, NASCAR's backyard. We just saw the All-Star race this past weekend for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Coke 600 going to be coming up as well this coming weekend. We will have next Monday night off, Brian, but then we will have our version of the longest race on the FTC season here in 2 weeks' time. So there's going to be a lot of Charlotte content coming up.
And that's going to be a very exciting race, too, because as you mentioned, it's our version of the longest race of the season, and it's going to be absolutely wild to see what those guys do. But I'm excited about tonight's race because this is a race, there's no points on the line. You just come out here, you race as hard as you can, you race as aggressive as you can, and you try to go for the win. You don't have to worry about points. You don't have to worry about how is this going to affect your championship season. Just come out here, try to put yourself in a position, go for the win. If you end up wrecking, oh well, you're not going to have to worry about about it, because like you said, in 2 weeks time we're going to have our next points paying race, and that's when it matters. So it's going to be a very exciting race, and I can't wait to see how everything shapes up. We're getting very close to this thing actually going green flag here in just a couple of minutes, and I believe it's going to be, with all these different stages, that's going to really mix things up too, because they're going to have a couple of sprints before they get to the 10-lap dash at the end to decide who's going to win this thing.
Yeah, the 10 laps at the end, I think, is really going to be exciting. The big thing that I'm going to look forward to with that one, Brian, is that final stage. The running order is going to be determined based on average finishes in the stages of those first 2 stages up until that point. So that's definitely going to be exciting. And when you talk about an all-star race, you talk about all of the big names that are going to be in this one. When we come back here to Charlotte in 2 weeks' time, it is going to be just a regular season race. Yes, round 10 on the year. But as we've been talking about all year, that's going to be our first ever segment championship race, where the series has been divided up into 3 10-race segments, and the top 3 in the points after each set of 10 races gets a little bit of extra money on the side of a prize. We've got a very close championship battle for the segment title, Brian, going into that race in 2 weeks' time, and all of those drivers here tonight in the All-Star may be sizing each other up. Brandon Bowie is your championship leader, 3 points ahead of Seth the Merchant, who is 12 points ahead of Michael Guerrilla, and Spencer Preach just a little bit off for the final points paying position, 4th in the points, 8 back of Guerrilla, who sits in 3rd. But 3 points between 1 and 2, that's going to be a difference in 2 weeks' time, should say, on Monday night. Between 1st and 2nd, that's a difference of getting $150 or $100.
And you can't just count on it being those 2 drivers battling for that segment championship, because Guerrilla and Spencer Preet are not that far behind. If Brandon Bowie, Seth the Merchant have a bad night, they could potentially end up losing the numbers 1 and 2 spots in the points and give it to Guerrilla and Spencer Preet. So it's going to be a wild night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see what happens. And like you mentioned, there's a little bit of money on the line for these guys. So it's a little bit more than just bragging rights, which is going to make the racing that much better, because these guys know what it's like to have that extra little bit of cash in their pockets, and they definitely want to have it when it's all said and done.
And the qualifying session, based on, of course, how you got qualified for this event, was all calculated prior to this when you saw cars on track simply for open practice. So we're getting set to go green flag racing for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. Pole position, therefore, going to go to the 57 of Seth the Merchant. His Peterson Irrigation Chevrolet will bring us to the green flag tonight. He will be accompanied on the outside of the front row by the 88 of Andrew Farinars. Dylan Jones and David Comstock going to make up row 2. They start 3rd and 4th. Spencer Preet and Brandon Bowie back on row 3 at B5 and 6. Lionel Callisto starts tonight in 7th position. Carl Shedd will roll from 8th spot. Dwayne Vincent is 9th, and Tommy Ryan rounds out your top 10.
And starting from the 11th position, we have Dwayne Vincent. Then we have Nick Silver starting his outside. Then we have Shane Ewing starting in that 13th position. It looks like we have Ross Cato starting behind him in the 14th spot. Looks like Kyle Kamer will start 15th. Then we have Daniel Eberhardt, Sean Casto starting 16th and 17th. Gabe Wood starting back there behind these guys as well. And then we've got Daniel Falkingham right behind him.
Continuing on through, you have Gabe Wood in the number 18 spot, away Beverly 19th, and Braden Whitaker is going to round out your top 20. Mike Taylor, Drew Adamson, and Randy Yoakum, 21, 22, and 23. Going to round out the starting lineup for your Real Sim Racing All-Star race from Charlotte. So we get set for stage number 1, and it is going to be the Pit Road Challenge segment of this race. 40-lap stage, 1 pit stop is required between lap 18 and 22. Tires are not required, but based on what we saw in the open, I think drivers will be coming down and getting some fresh rubber at that time. As always, we're happy that you're spending a Monday night with us at LSRTV in iRacing Live. Let's put the points aside and go all-star racing from Charlotte as we're green off to turn 1 for stage 1.
And we've got Seth the Merchant on the bottom, Freenars on the top, side by side for the race lead as they come off turn 2 for the first time. Freenars tries to carry that momentum off the outside line to see if he can't take that position away from Seth the Merchant, but it doesn't look like he's going to have the advantage as they head off into 3. Now he really throws the car down into the corner, pinches down to Merchant to try to take that lead away, and he will take the race lead and complete the lap number 1 with the race lead. Andrew Freenars to the point. Here comes David Comstock now to the outside, trying to take second away from Seth the Merchant.
He was able to complete that pass forward position up on the outside of the racetrack, so Faridars through into the point. Look at the 57 at a Merchant, though. He slides up on Comstock. Big dive to the inside, and we're going to go side by side for second position. The 42, bad entry to 3, so the Merchant's going to have a better run up off of turn number 4 this time. So the 57 looking to defend P2. Faridars enjoying the view out of the rear view mirror. The 88 pulls to turn 1. Comstock back in line. Looked like he might have got headhunted, though. Went real deep into turn 1, trying to get to the back bumper to Merchant, couldn't do it, and now Dylan Jones to the inside, and that was almost contact again. The top 5 not shy early on.
And you can tell these guys don't care about this race as far as points are concerned. They're out here racing like they know they're not racing for points, and it's been a wild one so far as Comstock gets sideways coming off of turn 4. Somehow keeps that car pointed in the right direction, but the battle is on side by side for that 3rd and 4th position. Dylan Jones on the bottom trying to take that position away. He slides up the racetrack just a hair in the middle of the corner, and Comstock is going to take advantage of that, carry the speed off the corner, and will be able to clear him to hold on to that 3rd position. So now, for the first time since we took the green flag, they are single file through the front 5 positions. You got to look back to Carl Shedd battling with the number 37 of Spencer Preet for 6th and 7th, and that's a pretty good battle. How about these two going at it side by side with Lionel Callisto right behind them trying to join the mix?
Going to join the mix as well. You've got the likes of Callisto and Dwayne Vincent, Nick Silvers of the world, who are trying to mix things up here. That 13 a little bit further back as you see Shedd falling backwards more. However, should be in a very good position to at least compete in this. It is, of course, as you were talking about, differences between late afternoon and nighttime conditions from the open to this all-star. Look at in front of him, though. The 42 of Comstock loses a ton of speed, and Dylan Jones with a pass in the grass will get up and by the 42 Chevy and take away 3rd.
And that's going to be on the highlight reel for a very long time. Coming off of turn 4, David Comstock had an issue. He clipped the apron in the middle of the corner, got sideways, and Dylan Jones had no choice but to cut a hard left, go through the grass. He decided to cut the grass a little bit, and what an incredible move. And we need to put that next to the clip with Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott from back in the mid-'80s, because that was incredible. But the battle is back on already as David Comstock has gotten himself gathered back up. He's to the bottom of the racetrack, and he has taken that position back away from Dylan Jones. Slides up in front of him coming off of turn 2, and will take back that 4th position, or 3rd position rather. But here comes Jones back on the bottom trying to take it back as they head to 3.
If we saw the replay of the look, we saw that number 11 machine to go down to the grass to make the pass. And as we come back to this battle, Comstock was able to regain that position. Jones tried to go back down low, give it another go. Not going to stick that time around, however, and the 42 machine is still 3rd. He's going to go way up the hill, though, down at 1 and 2. And the inside's wide open. Look at the 11 of Jones skating on that white line down low. But it was a fantastic run off of the quarter. It'll be a dead heat as they head off to turn number 3. But side by side for 3rd, and also side by side for 5th. Behind them, at a battle between Carl Shedd and Lionel Callisto. So great stuff up at the front of the field. Looks like they're packed in tight for a restart, but this is through 8 now laps completed at Charlotte.
And you can see these guys are putting on a great show. As you just mentioned, Evan Pasoko, you got Comstock and Dylan Jones battling side by side for 3rd and 4th. Carl Shedd, Lionel Callisto battling side by side for 5th and 6th. These guys are having a blast, and they're making it very easy for us to call this race as well, as the action has just not stopped since the drop of the green flag. And you see David Comstock, he's really rolling the outside line. He is committed to that outside line pretty much since the drop of the green flag. I've seen him move up to the top, and at one point he was right up against the wall. As you see down here in 1 and 2, he's about a half a lane off the wall trying to make it work. He gives up a lot of ground on corner entry, but he's able to get back in the gas so much sooner, and he's able to carry that speed off. And you can see right here, Dylan Jones had him clear, but he could not pull up in front of him, because if he tried to do that, he was going to get ran right into the back of by Comstock. Now he has the opportunity to do it again. Is he going to be able to stay in front of him this time? He slides up in front of him, and Comstock's now going to make the crossover move as they go down the front stretch, and he'll go to the inside for that 3rd position as they head to 1.
These two just can't seem to get away from one another, and now it is a role reversal. It's Comstock way down by that yellow lot on the inside. The 11 car up top, and Comstock fast again. Not as much speed off of the quarter, and he came up to get in front of Dylan Jones, but left that door open just a little bit too much. So Jones is able to get a nose back up there. Don't think it's going to be much of a difference. Now as we come to 4, look at the slide job again, and the 42 all kinds of sideways. Jones rolled out of the gas a little bit, but he'll come right back out of another big bobble by David Comstock, who continues to, despite a terribly handed race car, wants to keep going at it. And you better be careful. Jones will win third. Here comes Kalisto. Here comes Carl Shed. And there goes Comstock down 3 spots.
And that is how that happens, because he just lost so much momentum. He had no choice but to give up those positions, and now he's battling with Dwayne Vincent. He's about to lose that position as well. Got Daniel Eberhardt right on his bumper, trying to take that position away. So in the matter of less than a mile and a half, David Comstock has went from battling for 3rd position to battling for 7th position and possibly 8th position with Daniel Eberhardt now as they go to the bottom of the racetrack. He's looking to the inside of David Comstock. And what I'm seeing right now is Comstock has really upset his tires. He was driving that car so hard at the beginning of this run. He has heated up those tires, and specifically I think he's heated up the right rear tire, and that has really made this car handle very badly for him. He's very sideways, and it's showing even on the straightaways. We saw when all that begun that he couldn't even keep it in a straight line going down the front stretch. That's how bad this car was driving right now. So you got to believe he's looking to get to pit road as quickly as possible, but now he's making a move on Kalisto to try to take that position away, and looks like he will move back into that 6th position, and now he's right on the back bumper of Dwayne Vincent. But here comes Kalisto back on the outside as they come off 4.
Real tight squeeze there, but at 42, how about some 3 wide? Look at the Donnie of Eberhardt, wanted to go low, and at 42, a Comstock stepped out about a half a foot. The Donnie almost ended up in the grass, would have been the 2nd time we had seen somebody making a move down there this afternoon, and a Donnie machine wisely backs out of that just a little bit. Comstock will win that battle, but again, he's still down in P6 with a little bit of ways to go if he wants to get back up to where he was running earlier in this one. So Eberhardt, the Donnie car, going to stay down on the inside of the racetrack. Kalisto still up top, and maybe the first time tonight we're talking about Spencer Preet in a positive manner. He's dropped 4 spots quick, but he appears to be in a good position to maybe try to jump on somebody here, at least get 1 if not 2 of those positions back as Eberhardt beats out Kalisto in the fight for 7th and 8th.
I love what we're seeing right now. We're seeing these guys move around and try different lines. You've got several drivers that are running the bottom of the racetrack, and then you've got more drivers that are moving up the racetrack. Daniel Eberhardt, Lionel Kalisto, Spencer Preet, all these drivers have been searching around trying to find a line. You see Daniel Eberhardt, he started that corner in the top of the track, cut down, made a big run. Now he's side by side with Comstock to try to take that position away. And the run that he got coming off the corner carried all the way down the front straightaway to clear David Comstock to move Eberhardt into that 6th position. That was an incredible move that Eberhardt made, and now he set his sights on Dwayne Vincent. But as soon as I say that, here comes Comstock back. He got a great run coming off the corner, and what an incredible race we're seeing out of these guys right now. I have not seen such good racing in a very long time, and this has been absolutely incredible to watch. Here comes Daniel Eberhardt back on the outside line, carrying that speed off the corner, and he's able to hold on to that position, hold off David Comstock for a little while longer.
In a race that we didn't have to put the restrictor plates on him, fight it a little bit forward to the front. The 11 of Dylan Jones beats out the 45 of Shed. That's a battle as well with Seth the Merchant. So Jones going to go up to 2nd, but it is lap 18. So pit road is open. Everybody pitted soon in the All-Star Open, and everybody going to come pit road this time nice and early. Pit road speed is going to be into effect after the drivers took a vote just before the drivers took to the grid to start this race. So you do have to slow down to pit road speed, I should say, of 50 miles an hour. You do have to go into the box, but you do not have to take tires. You can if you want, and I assume, Brian, that we'll see drivers go for them just like they did earlier tonight.
Yeah, I believe we're going to see that, but we had an incident coming off of turn 4 coming on to pit road between Ross Cato, Daniel Falkingham, and Shane Ewing. A big wreck coming on to pit road that cost all of these drivers some serious damage to their cars, and also kept a couple of them from even being able to make it to pit road. So big implications for those drivers. That's going to affect them and essentially take them out of contention for this race. But all the drivers that were down on pit road there elected to go for 4 tires. You saw the replay on your screen of that wreck just a moment ago. 4 tires for everybody that was on pit road. Now we await to see any of the other drivers coming in. Here comes David Comstock. He had assumed the race lead. Well, now he's coming to pit road. He's brought Brandon Bowie, and it looks like Nick Silver possibly as well with him on pit road for their service on pit road.
Well, and that wreck's a perfect example, Brian, of what I was talking about earlier with that steep banking, is you're probably going to be making that dive to pit road from the banking. I think Kato was the only one who wanted to pit there, but he stuck the parachute out the back end right in front of Daniel Falkenham. That's why the one was involved, and then it's just bad luck for Shane Ewing and bad luck for Braden Whitaker, and that's why you saw that big accident down at the entrance of the pit lane as we were following some of the cars coming down to the far end of pit road. You got a good look at that one on the LSRTV replay. Pit road, though, that's closed at lap 22, so it's not a very big window. Everybody's got to get in and out. Spencer Preet, your race leader's down pit road. Gabe Wood was out to the number 2 position. He's down pit road, so pit road stop's going to be all complete here shortly. 37, small mistake, has to back it in, but he'll probably as well go for 4 tires.
Well, and that's the type of things that you cannot have under a green flag pit stop. That small mistake, that cost him about 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot. When you think of 2 seconds, you don't think that's a lot of time. But when these guys are going almost 200 miles an hour around this racetrack while you're sitting on pit road having that small 2-second error, that means so much time on the racetrack. And you can already see the guys that he was racing with, David Comstock and such, they have already made their way past him, and they are halfway down the back straightaway as Spencer Preet is just now coming off of turn 2 on the bottom of the racetrack trying to get up to speed. He has given up that much time because of that small mistake where he had to slide through and had to back up into his pit box in order to get his service taken care of. So that's how critical that type of mistake can be, especially when it's under green flag conditions. It's not magnified near as much when you have a pit stop under caution, but when you're doing it under green flag like these guys do, it is extremely important not to have those types of errors.
And unfortunately, again, that's basically what's going to ruin your night. We saw a similar accident take a driver out in the All-Star Open earlier this evening as well, so there's no real way of coming back from that. The 97 of Callisto doing a battle with the 43 machine of Brandon Bowie. This one currently scored as a battle between 7th and 8th on track, and I believe that's where it's going to cycle out to. Bowie is going to take that spot away. The driver who, as we just mentioned not all that long ago, comes into this evening leading the Segment 1 Championship for the Full Throttle Real Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C. But through all of it, no surprise, Andrew Faridars has maintained the race lead. He has not really been challenged. We've seen tons of great stuff, top 5, top 10 throughout the pack for that matter, but it has not been a battle between first and second since Faridars took it away from pole sitter Seth the Merchant on lap number 1. Brian, he is a second in front of Dylan Jones, although to be fair, once Jones completed that pass on Shed for P2, he has been the fastest car on track, so keep an eye on the 11 Ford.
And while that was going on, trouble with the 97 of Lionel Callisto coming off of turn 2. He got up against the wall, couldn't keep it out of the wall, made some contact, and it cost him a ton of time. He had to slow way down, and it's going to cost him several positions. He's going to fall from the 7th position all the way back to the 11th position. While all that happened, Carl Shedd in that 3rd position just made the move on Daniel Eberhardt to take that 3rd position away, and he is going to be charging forward right now. And we are just 15 laps away now, 14 laps away from the end of this stage, which we're going to get a caution to bunch these guys back up. They're going to have the opportunity to come back to pit road and get some service done to their cars before going for another stage run, where they're going to go for just, I believe, 20 laps in that stage before we set up for our 10-lap finale at the end of this thing. But a very exciting battle going on for this 2nd and 3rd position, or 3rd and 4th position rather, between Carl Shedd and Daniel Eberhardt. These guys going at it right now.
And Eberhardt's taking a couple of looks to the inside. The 45 hasn't necessarily come down to throw a block on him, but he's not necessarily giving him an entire lane. You see on the quad over the inside's way open, but the 45 creeps down just a little bit, keeps Eberhardt behind him, and they will stay 3rd and 4th respectively. So this opening stage, known as the Pit Road Challenge segment of this race, it'll be tires the next time through, where drivers who decide in between the stage breaks, depending on what tire strategy they take, that's how they'll grid up. So if you take no tires, you're going to be at the front. You take 2 and you're in the middle, and then everybody who takes 4 at the stage break going to be at the back. That'll be fun to watch. Something else fun to watch, the battle for 3rd. There's a mistake from Carl Shedd. Almost wrecked that race car. He got up into the wall. I think he'll be okay, but he throws away P3.
And that is just one of those things, you drive this car on the edge of out of control for so long, and that one little mistake cost you just a little bit of time. Fortunately, he did not give up that much time to Daniel Eberhardt, but it was enough to cost him the position. But here he comes back to the bottom of the racetrack inside of Daniel Eberhardt for that third position. But Eberhardt has the advantage of the outside line. He's able to carry that momentum and gaps Carl Shed by about 4 car lengths just down the front straightaway alone. That's going to allow him to really kind of take control of this third position. And you got to look right behind these guys, Evan Pasoko, because here comes Seth DeMerchant creeping into the picture, and he'd like to join this battle and make it a 3-way battle for third and for fourth position.
We definitely like to get into the battle, and we've seen a couple of those, in fact, all night long. Just look back 7, 8 to 9. You got Bowie, Kamer, Preet all on top of each other. So if you get around a couple of cars, you can definitely stick with each other. We've seen plenty of great stops so far tonight. Andrew Faridas, who's already back off in turn 2, and by the way, has started to get the upper hand in the lap-by-lap intervals compared to Dylan Jones. So he's extended that race lead back up to over 1 second in length. He has taken 10 laps to go in stage 1. So the clock now ticking down. If you're going to get a spot before pit stops at the break, now's the time to do it. Maybe push that car a little bit harder.
Well, and this is where you want to try to find out what you're going to have in your car, because at this point, you're not going to have a run this long the rest of the night. When we get to the end of this stage, we're going to have a 20-lap stage, then we're going to have a 10-lap stage. So you don't have to worry about trying to save your tires and try to conserve. Push this car as hard as you can in these last 8 laps of this stage to find out what your car has. That's exactly what these drivers need to be doing. The battle is on still for that P3 position, and it has been wild to see these guys going after it as they just continue to battle non-stop. As actually Daniel Eberhardt has begun to get away, but Carl Shed is now in the clutches of Seth DeMerchant, who has creeped in to try and take that 4th position away, and he is trying to do everything he can to try to sneak up there before the end of the stage. He's running the outside line down here in 1 and 2, going to try to carry that momentum off the corner, and you can see the run he gets coming off of turn 2. He's able to close right in on the back bumper of Carl Shed, and as they head to turn 3, where is he going to go? Right up against the wall once again to see if he can do it again as they come off turn 4. Arcs the car down the racetrack, gets a big run. Here he comes off turn 4. Seth DeMerchant to the inside of Carl Shed for that 4th position.
And you can see him setting up for it. Stayed wide, made that big sweep down low, and as he comes back up and takes the line away from Carl Shed, Seth DeMerchant gonna went out in that battle for P4. That it might have stayed low, but you can see him drive right up to that wall, knowing that Carl Shed would try to wind her up on the outside of the racetrack and get a big run to counterattack. And it was a very nice move by DeMerchant. He'll only officially get that position this time by. Shed still had it O's in front at the start-finish line the last time around, but now Seth DeMerchant officially jumping back up to P4, so your polls that are showing that he's still a factor to be messed with in this one. And I guess what can't be understated enough is we've been talking about Daniel Eberhardt as well, Brian. It could have been in this one. Again, no yellows through this opening stage. 15th is where he was on the grid. He's up to 3rd all on his own, so it's been a great opening segment for the 90 Ford.
It absolutely has been a great opening segment so far for these guys, but just absolutely insane what we're seeing out of these drivers right now as we're down to just 5 laps remaining in this stage race, or in this stage of the race, and it's just going to be a very big battle between these two drivers to see if Carl Shed can get back to him and see if he can take that position away. And it is worth noting, Evan Pasoko, that we are going to have some eliminations in this first stage. We're going to go from having 23 drivers that started this race. We're going to actually eliminate down to just 15 drivers as Seth DeMerchant gets sideways off of turn 4, somehow holds on to it, but here comes Carl Shed back for the position. He's on the bottom of the racetrack, and he's going to take advantage of that to take that 4th position back.
I think that right rear quarter panel just grazed the outside wall, but he did not want to wreck that race car. Seth DeMerchant hangs on as we come to 3 laps left to go in segment. But you're right, only the top 15 cars are going to advance from the first stage into the second stage. There's already a handful of drivers eliminated from this race, drivers who have taken their cars behind the wall. Everybody 18th to 23rd is parked. That's Shane Ewing to Braden Whitaker, Ross Cato to White Beverly, Drew Adamson to Mike Taylor, all respectively out of this race. Only Randy Yoakum and Daniel Falkenham, who are on track, are currently in elimination positions, and Sean DeCasto with the final transfer spot 15th has a 7-second lead over both of them, so he's looking to be fairly calm in the next 2.5 laps.
Well, and that's where when you're Seth DeMerchant doing what he just did a lap and a half ago, you do not want to make that mistake and actually spin the car out, because that could definitely take you out of a position with just 2 laps remaining in this thing. If you spin out right now, there's a very good chance you're not going to be able to get your car back up to speed and be able to stay in front of these drivers to stay inside the top 15. So at this point, you have to just mind the fact that you're in a transfer spot. You know you're not going to get eliminated. Just hang on and try to stay in this thing to the end. And they're coming to the white flag. Andrew Freenars has a 1.5 second advantage. White flag in this opening stage. All he's got to do is coast around for another 1.5 miles, and he's going to win stage 1 of this event.
Trying to get around to the next time by as he is working lap 40. Faridars in first, uncontested. Second, Jones. Third, Eberhardt. But fourth may still be up for grabs. And Carl Shed paid back Seth DeMerchant with a little bit of a block high. That time at 1 and 2. The 57 wants to make something happen before he runs out of time. I don't think he's going to be able to set him up, though, as the competition yellow gets set to come out. The 57 trying to look low. Shed's going to stay low. And here comes the green, white, and the checker, and it is the end of stage number 1, and Faridars leads most of it, and only the top 15 cars are going to be able to move on.
And what an exciting first stage of this race that we had here tonight. I've not seen such good racing that we saw out of these drivers from basically the drop of the green flag until the end of this stage. These guys were all over one another. They were so aggressive, but it was clean racing. Aggressive but clean racing. That's not something you see every day, but these drivers were going after it like there was actually $1 million on the line, and what incredible racing we saw. And now we're about to see our first round of pit stops under caution. These guys are going to come to pit road, and we're going to have some interesting rules based on what these drivers elect to do. If we have anybody that takes no tires versus 2 tires or 4 tires, they're going to be lined up in a certain order, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens here as these guys head to pit road.
They are headed to pit road again. Unlike in the first one, you are able to come into the box, but depending on how many tires you take, this is going to dictate where you restart for stage number 2. If you go with no tires, you're going to be able to start at the front in running order based on drivers who took no tires. If you took 2, you'll have to follow the drivers who took none in your order that you're running in. And if you take 4, same on, you will line up at the back of the cars who took 2 tires in your current running order. So drivers are going to come down to the pit lane right now, and they must stop it. We're going to figure everything out in that respect as we hit the first stage break. But again, drivers eliminated from this one: Randy Yoakum, Daniel Falkenham, the only ones who made it to the end of the 40-lap first segment that aren't going to be able to go on to the next segment in this one. Shane Ewing, Braden Whitaker, Ross Cato, Dwight Beverly, Drew Adamson, and Mike Taylor are all the drivers who are not going to make it into the next round.
And it's just one of those deals. A lot of those drivers had issues. As we mentioned, we saw Ross Cato, Shane Ewing, Braden Whitaker, Daniel Falkenham. They all had issues coming onto pit road trying to get in for their green flag pit stop. And unfortunately, because of an issue right there, it was just one of those things where it got them knocked out of this race and kept them potentially from being able to move on to the next stage of this race. But fortunately, again, for these drivers, no points on the line. You're out here to have a good time, try to go for the win. And if it doesn't work out, it's not like you're going to be out any major points.
Not going to be out anything major, and when we're talking about eliminations, we will have some more eliminations to talk about in just a moment. But as we're at the stage break, we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, give it an LSRTV non-stop as we go through pit stops and re-rack them and restack them. When we come back, stage 2 is coming up. You're watching the Real Sim Racing All-Star Race on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
And welcome back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway, talking about the what-ifs of the pit strategy. Brian Backlund, nobody wants to roll the dice. So it is 4 tires, top to bottom, so your running order going to be the same from 1 through 15. I would have thought maybe if you're 15th or 14th that you would have gone with at least 2. I think that we saw in the open and we saw in that first stage, people want tires. Of course, the majority is going to be 4. I'm surprised there wasn't at least somebody way back there who was willing to gamble. It is a 20-lap run. Yes, that is a good amount of time. What's your worst case scenario? You fall back to 15th. You're already starting back there. The big thing to keep in mind now is as we go into this 20-lap segment, only the top 8 drivers advance. I'd kind of rather be in the top 8 and try to defend than have to be 7 positions out of a transfer spot on even tires and somehow had to pull out a miracle. Either way, everybody goes with 4, so it'll be a test of driver speed, mano-y-mano per se, as we get sent to go back green for stage 2.
Well, and I think what you just said right there, the top 8 are going to advance into the final stage of this race. I think that's why nobody elected to take that chance and go for 2 tires or even no tires, because if you take 2 tires or you decide you're going to do no tires and you fall back that far, you're not even going to have a chance to defend that for that position. You're going to be in the way, essentially, because the lap times fell off almost 2 full seconds from when these guys pitted around lap 20 to when the stage caution came out at lap 40. So the tire where I think just mattered that much where these guys had to get 4 tires.
We are doubled up and we are going to get set to go for segment number 2 in the Real Sim Racing All-Star Race from Charlotte, America. Nothing, all green flag. Let's go for 20 more. Middle segment from Charlotte.
Middle segment, 20 laps of racing here. Top 8 advance. Andrew Freenars knows that he's got a fast enough car to stay there. He just has to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. Daniel Eberhardt has all of a sudden emerged into the 2nd position. Got a great restart. He's able to climb right up there, and the battle is on right behind him. Carl Shedd and Dylan Jones battling for 3rd and 4th, and you see Carl Shedd was able to take that position. He slides up in front of Dylan Jones. Here comes the 57 of Seth the Merchant to the inside of Dylan Jones, trying to take that position away as they head to 1.
Dylan Jones, again, all of these drivers battling for positions that are well within the transfer window. That didn't stop these guys from racing really hard early. I think that they want to take advantage of the fact that there's no points on the line in this one and just have a little bit of fun. So the Merchant going to tuck in line to behind Jones. It's Fredar's, Eberhardt, Shed, Jones, and the Merchant 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 in the running order. Again, number 8 is the battle we need to be watching. Right now it's held by Comstock with a 43 machine of Brandon Bowie. He's in the mix right there as well. Sorry, Nick Silver now is scoring updates. Silver is P8. Bowie and Comstock at the outside looking in. They're chasing the yellow and red Ford Fusion.
And this is the battle for that that transfer spot. Nick Silver has it. Bowie and Comstock won it, but the problem is only one of them could take it from Nick Silver. They're gonna, if they both want to transfer, they're gonna have to find another position, and that would come in the form of Tommy Ryan, who's just ahead of these guys as well. But he is about a half a second ahead of them, so they have their work cut out for him. And David Comstock, Brandon Bowie are teammates, but at this particular moment in time, Evan Pizzoco, I don't think you can race each other like your teammates. You have a 20-lap stage to decide who's gonna make the top 8. And neither one of these drivers have that position right now. You cannot really afford to race each other like your teammates. That means you got to be very aggressive, and it could create a little bit of an issue between each other. We've seen this over the years, teammates not really working well together. We saw several years ago Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch having issues in the All-Star race. We could see something like that here tonight between these two.
And then, you take the teammate aspect out of it. We've seen how hard guys were racing for 4th when all you had to do was make the top 15. Just imagine how hard they're going to be going at each other if 8th position is up for grabs later on in this stage. Racing to lap number 62 on the ticker. That will be completion of 20 laps in stage 2. And a restart would come up, completing lap number 65, coming to 66. That would mark our 10-lap shootout at the end of this race. Nick Silver, though, he does not enjoy being on the bubble position. He'll try to go to the inside of the racetrack for the 24 car, trying to get around the 99 of Tommy Ryan, get a buffer between he and David Comstock, who continues to lurk 4 car lengths back in the 42. That's never somebody you can go to sleep on.
Absolutely never somebody you can go to sleep on, but the problem is neither one of these drivers are in that top 8 position right now. The battle is on right in front of them. Nick Silver, Tommy Ryan battling for 7th and 8th position, and those two battling for position could bring Comstock and Bowie and Callisto and company back into the mix to try to battle for those positions. You see Silver on the outside line, tries to carry that momentum off the corner, can't quite get to the outside of Tommy Ryan, but he's going to look low as they head to turn 3, gets back in line at the last second, and is going to just ride behind him. But the problem is, here comes David Comstock. He's closing back in on both of these drivers, and now Nick Silver has to make a decision. How long does he ride behind Tommy Ryan before he decides he needs to try to make that move? Because if he waits too long, he's going to have Comstock knocking on the back door of him, and that's going to create issues for his potential chances of moving into the final stage.
Anytime that you're putting a little bit of an extra burden on that car and on those tires, it's not something that you want. Up front, yes, we are single file. They are still pretty tightly packed together, so I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out of nowhere pretty quickly. Look at the 57 of the Merchant again. He almost wrecked it at a turn 4. That's probably the umpteenth time he's gotten close there, and him and Spencer Preet have gotten to know each other very well over the course of the 50 with laps. But again, that one not for transfer spot. You got to look at P8, and Nick Silver is about to get crowded. Comstock and Bowie are there. Who makes the first move?
Brandon Bowie is going to be the one to make that first move. He clears Comstock, goes to the inside of Nick Silver. He drove that car into turn 3. What an incredible move. He's able to take the position from Comstock, but the momentum that he lost when he had to check up is going to allow Comstock to get back to his inside and possibly be able to take that position away. Comstock to the bottom of the racetrack, and he will clear Bowie for that position once again. He's able to slide up in front of him to hold on and take that position away, but what an incredible move by Brandon Bowie. He sailed off into that corner like he had a restrictor plate into that car, and he does it again right here as he slides up in front of Comstock to take that position away. That's how much this means to these drivers right now. They know they have to try to get to top 8.
And Comstock absolutely sideways on the corner as he tries to get down it on the inside of Bowie. The last thing you don't want is, of course, battling with the guy for 9th to see who gets the right to go for P8, and neither of you do it. And the more they're side by side, the further and further away Nick Silver's going to get, and the more company they'll find knocking on their door, because Lionel Callisto and an on a 7 now right here. Kyle Kamer and the 8 machine as well, making it a 4-car race for 9th. All those drivers, though, still outside looking in.
point. The problem is we're now inside the last 10 laps of this second stage. They have got to get this sorted out, and they have to find a way to get back to Nick Silver and Tommy Ryan. That's the two positions that they stand the most chance of being able to take away to move into the top 8. And right now, none of these drivers, as hard as they're racing against each other, are in a transfer spot. So at some point, you have to cut your losses and try to chase those drivers down and battle with them. And I think that's what we might finally be seeing, as these 4 drivers have gotten single file. But as soon as I say that, here comes David Comstock, and he's right on the back bumper of Brandon Bowie, goes high down in turn 1, and here comes Kalisto on the bottom in a big wreck. Kalisto gets turned sideways as the number 8 machine of Kyle Kamer got into the back of him, and somehow they're able to keep that down, just a 2-car incident. Kalisto got kicked sideways. That's going to take him and Kyle Kamer both out of contention, and now we have just 4 drivers racing for those 2 transfer spots.
Not sure how that entire pack didn't wreck. You did see that Kalisto's car hard up and into the outside wall. Kamer actually was able to hang on to his race car. He does fall to P12 though, and it does obviously give him damage and puts him 2 seconds off at the top spot. Meanwhile, news up front, Daniel Eberhardt going to go to the race lead in this one. First lead change we've seen in some time, but a battle for the transfer spot is on. Here comes Brandon Bowie on the inside, and Nick Silver drives it in hard on the inside. He'll be slow up off of the corner. He needs to block, and he'll do just that. But here comes Comstock, side by side for P8.
And that was a big move for Comstock, because he's able to slide up in front of Bowie. He gets loose, going into the corner, slides up, almost makes contact with the wall. Nick Silver's able to slide back by. Bowie's able to hold on to take that 7th position. Nick Silver is back in the 8th position now, and he is trying to hang on, or rather he's in the 9th position. So he's got some work to do now if he's going to get back into that transfer spot. But David Comstock thought he had the opportunity. He slid up in front of Bowie and got loose, and that cost him a ton of track position, and it could have been the moment that's going to keep him from moving into that transfer spot, because now he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to get past 2 cars in the last 5 laps of this stage if he's going to be able to transfer on.
So that's what you call drivers going at it, and through all of that, Bowie in the 43 Ford Chevrolet should say, he's the driver who ends up in that position. Running out of time as we get to the end of stage 2. Eberhardt leads over Jones. Farinars has fallen to 3rd. That is the lowest the 88 has been all night, excluding, of course, when he came down pit road under green flag conditions to get service. But he pitted from the race lead, and he would cycle back through to the race lead. So 3rd, really the lowest he's been under green flag conditions so far tonight. Can Bowie hang on? Does Silver have something up his sleeve? I think he'll have 3 more laps to go at it this time by.
And while that's going on, we about had a lead or a battle for the race lead, as Dylan Jones had gotten right to the back bumper of Daniel Eberhardt, but he was not able to do anything with it. He actually got really loose down on the bottom of the racetrack and had to give up a ton of time to get that car back in the right direction for him. So unfortunate for that 11. He's got just a couple of laps left to try to do something with him at the end of this stage to try to have that control as the race leader. But as you mentioned, Brandon Bowie and Nick Silver, these 2 drivers are racing for the transfer spot. Bowie has put about a 3-car length gap over Nick Silver, and with what we believe to be just 2 laps to go left in this stage, Bowie just needs a couple of incident-free laps. If he can get to Tommy Ryan and pass him, that would make it even easier for him, because then he'd be up in the 7th position and not really have to worry about it. But these guys are still going at it with just 2 laps to go in this stage.
2 laps to go. Can you take advantage? Or is it going to be the top 8 as we see them now? Might be an exchange for a position here or there, but I don't see anybody falling out of this unless they make a big mistake. 1 lap left to go in stage number 2. Eberhardt leads Jones, Friedars and Shed 3rd and 4th. Seth the Merchant's 5th. Spencer Preet 6th. Tommy Ryan 7th. Brandon Bowie is at 8th. And he's got 0.3 of a second over Nick Silver. I don't think the 24 Ford is going to be able to catch up to him in time. Eberhardt trying to hang on. Final time at a quarter number 4, and he will come to the green and white checkered flag. That is the end of segment number 2. You have to race it out to the line. Bowie will hang on and transfer into the final stage.
Man, and you've got to feel for Nick Silver and David Comstock, specifically Nick Silver, because Nick had that position for the majority of this run, and it was a big move by Brandon Bowie on the bottom of the racetrack down in turns 3 and 4. He sailed that car off into the corner and basically never lifted, and then slid up in front of the 24 machine to take that position away, and it was that move right there that sealed the deal for Brandon Bowie to be able to move on into this final stage of this race. It's going to be a 10-lap dash to decide who's going to win the All-Star race here tonight. And Evan Pasoko, I cannot wait to see what happens in this final stage.
They were going at it there. Silver, Comstock, you mentioned Vincent, Casto, Kamer, Callisto, and Wood, all the drivers who are going home. And now we can say, and then there were 10 laps in this final stage in a race to the end. Drivers have the opportunity as they come down pit road now to take their 4 tires. They've taken it every single time. And of course, despite the fact that I believe this time around it is a mandatory 4-tire stop, everybody's going to come in, get those 4 tires, and then we're going to take a look at some of the finishing results. And if anybody needs to get swapped around, we will stage the running order for that 10-lap shootout to the end based on your average stage finish over the course of stage 1 and the just completed stage 2. So Farinars, who fell to 3rd, may have an opportunity to get back up to 2nd, put himself in the front row, if not getting an opportunity to go all the way back to the front. So race control is going to start hitting some numbers on the calculators, and while they figure that out, we'll take one more opportunity to step aside. When we come back, it is the final stage. You're watching the Real Sim Racing All-Star Race, part of the Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto LLC and LSRTV and iRacing Live. Back to Charlotte in a moment. Back live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, 2 down and 1 to go as we welcome you back inside of the LSRTV booth. Evan Pasoko, Brian Backlund with you. Cisco Scaramuza is downstairs in the production trailer. We're happy that you're with us on your home for Sim Racing and iRacing Live. Technically, Brian, 60 some odd down and 10 to go. We get set for stage 3 of the Real Sim Racing All-Star Race. Everybody took 4 tires. They have been doubled up based on their average finish. Frenars of the 88 machine going to end up back on 3rd position. Eberhard Jones both averaging a 2 number, so they are going to be on the front row for this one.
And this is going to be an absolutely exciting 10-lap dash. No cautions. Just go out there, race as hard as you can. You're going to have a couple of teammates starting on the front row, along with Andrew Frenars right behind him, Carl Shed right behind him as well. This is going to be absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see how this thing plays out.
And as you can see on the total lap counter showing 75, we allotted ourselves 5 laps total in between each stage, or combined, I guess, in between stage 1, 2, and then 2, 3 to be able to reset the running order. So it is completed 70 laps of on-track action. Of course, though, we're going to go around one more time, put lap 65 behind us. That will line us up for 10 laps to go. Same rules as we saw in the other stages. No pit stops required in this one, Brian, but no caution flags either. So it's 10 laps. You get the winner, you go home. Only 8 cars are left on track. What should we expect to see in stage number 3?
2 words: absolute chaos. That's exactly what we're going to see here tonight in these last 10 laps. These guys are going to go after it. No points on the line. Just go out there, do what you can to get the win, and see what happens here. Daniel Eberhard, Dylan Jones, Andrew Frenars, Carl Shed, Seth the Merchant, Spencer Preet, Tommy Ryan, Brandon Bowie. These 8 drivers are showing us why they are all-stars in this series, and it's about to be an absolutely incredible 10 laps. I can't wait to see what happens. And we got a couple of teammates on the front row, and Daniel Eberhard, Dylan Jones. I have a feeling you're not going to see these guys racing like teammates over these last 10 laps.
We are doubled up, and we are getting set to go green. The Donnie of Eberhard, big advantage because he has the opportunity to control the restart in this one. How good can Dylan Jones be for the outside of the front row? One more time, we go green from Charlotte. 10 laps left to go. It's stage number 3.
And you can see immediately Daniel Eberhard's able to get away from Dylan Jones by about a car length and a half, and Andrew Frenars, who controlled the beginning stages of this race, he now is going to have to be heavy on the offense in the final 10 laps of this thing, as he is back in that 3rd position, been up front for most of the race, but doesn't have the lead now. And you can see he is driving the wheels off that car, trying to get back to him. Dylan Jones almost makes contact with the wall off 4.
There he goes, Dylan Jones gonna slide, and he's got more cars. Seth the Merchant involved, the 43 of Brandon Bowie involved as well, and that's about half of the 8 cars that were left in this one. Bowie, Jones, and the Merchant out of this race in the blink of an eye. As we said, no yellows, we stay green, but that was a catastrophic mistake by Jones into the outside wall, came down and took out 2 more, and Daniel Eberhard's the Bernani machine was in front of the chaos, and all of a sudden, new 2nd place runner Andrew Frenars is under attack by Carl Shed, but they're a 2nd off of the race lead.
And Andrew Frenars has heavy damage to the right front of that car, and that is going to cost him as Carl Shed moves by him to take that position away to move into 2nd. And what an absolutely incredible moment. Spencer Preet coming off of turn 4 last time by, he had a very scary moment coming off the corner. I'm not quite sure how he kept that car pointed in the right direction, but he clipped the apron coming off the corner when he was battling with Tommy Ryan, got sideways, somehow actually is able to hang on. I just don't understand how he was able to do it, but absolutely incredible. But we're already down to just 6 laps remaining in this race, and it is all Daniel Eberhard as he has a full 2nd advantage over Carl Shed. It's going to take a catastrophic mistake by this 90 machine at this point if he's not going to win this thing.
It's all Eberhard out in front. Shed all by himself in 2nd. Then you'll see that battle for 3rd between Frenars and Ryan. Spencer Preet and Bowie still on track. So impressive that the 43 was able to get back going. Jones the Merchant right to pit road. Their nights are over with. Really just an interval game right now. It's fun to watch Frenars and Ryan do battle. Yes, Tommy Ron is going to go to the outside of the racetrack and will go side by side for 3rd. I don't see either of these cars having the speed to catch up, though, with 5 to go this time. and they are still side by side. Ryan looks like he'll get the upper hand, but watch Carl Shed. Intervals that time by about a half of a tenth of a second quicker. He's still 6/10 back though, so he is faster, but it's not fast enough. He's going to have to find a little bit extra.
He is driving the wheels off that car, trying to find a way to get to Daniel Eberhardt just to give himself a chance. If he can just find a way to catch Eberhardt and give himself a chance, that works. But you can see right now he is really gaining some time. He's running to the bottom of the racetrack. Eberhardt's running to the top, and he's able to carry that speed off the corner to catch Eberhardt, and he's able to close that gap down now from 6/10 of a second to 3.5 of a second. He's actually going to have the opportunity to race for this race lead as he has closed that gap down to just a couple of car lengths now as they work down the back straightaway. When they get back to the stripe, it's going to be just 3 laps remaining in this race, and he continues to drive that car down into the bottom. Look at Carl Shed sail that car off into the corner, doing everything he can to try to get to the back bumper of Eberhardt.
Jed is trying to obviously find victory lane in this one. It would be a feel-good time for him to break through on 2018. It's down to 2/10 of a second. Eberhardt's going to go way up the track. The 45 wants to stay low. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a battle for the All-Star race win on our hands. 2 laps to go this time by as we come to see the popsicle sticks and Shed way to the inside on the apron, trying to get that car to rotate. It wasn't all that bad, but he'll lose time off at the corner. 2 laps remain.
I feel like Carl Shed's spotter must have told him what Brandon Bowie did to move into this stage, because Bowie was making that exact same move, sailing the car off into the corner, trying to get it down on the apron to make the car turn, and that's the move that made him get around Nick Silver to move into the transfer spot. And with a lap and a half to go, he's on the back bumper of Daniel Eberhardt. To the bottom of the racetrack he goes again for the race lead. Here comes Carl Shed on the bottom. He's side by side with Eberhardt as they come to the white flag.
Side by side with a lap to go. The 45's not going to be able to make it stick. Last lap from Charlotte. He looked very good though at this end of the racetrack at 1 and 2, and Eberhardt notices that. He goes down and blocks him, and that might have been the race winning move in this one. Eberhardt 2 car lengths down the back straightaway. Carl Shed gonna have to go for a Hail Mary move. He'll drive to the inside. He'll make it side by side. Eberhardt slow though. We're gonna be side by side on contact. Eberhardt spins Shed into the outside wall, and Daniel Eberhardt wins the All-Star.
What did we just see? That was absolutely insane. Carl Shed gave it everything he had, sailed that car off into the corner in turn number 3, and I have to be honest with you, I didn't think that car was going to make it. The way he drove that car off into the corner, I just knew he was going to find the turn 4 wall, and it wasn't going to be because of Daniel Eberhardt, but Eberhardt got loose coming off the corner, and wow, what an incredible finish. You got to feel for Tommy Ryan, because if Daniel Eberhardt spun that car out and not kept it pointed in the right direction, Tommy Ryan would have been in the catbird seat to win this All-Star race, and what a moment it could have been for him.
Yeah, Eberhardt wrecked across the line, and it was still the first one there. Ryan almost stole it, but I'll tell you what, I had no faith, Brian, that the 45 of Carl Shed was going to make that move stick. He was just so far behind, and after the great run through 1 and 2 that Donati had, just didn't think it was possible, but he had him. If those cars did not get together, Carl Shed would have been your Real Sim Racing All-Star Race winner on 2018. Instead, the Donati machine, I think, figured out a little bit too late that he was way too slow, got into the gas. The car broke sideways. He turns the 45 of Carl Shed around, who, by the way, slides across the wall and ends up 6th out of the 6 cars that were left on track remaining at the white flag. And Daniel Eberhardt, unofficially first across the line, is your All-Star race winner for 2018.
That finish was absolutely incredible, and it was a great race overall. These guys put on a great show here tonight. I have not seen such good racing. The multi-groove racing that we were able to see here tonight was absolutely incredible, and it really has me excited for 2 weeks from now when we come back to this racetrack to have our version of the World 600. It's going to be absolutely insane, and if these guys race half as hard as they did tonight, we're going to have one heck of a show for everybody.
And I'm sure that if the drivers are still around on the pit road in a couple of minutes, they'll have plenty to say about the end of that one. So what we'll do is we'll take one more opportunity to step aside. And when we come back, we'll hand out some All-Star hardware. Daniel Eberhardt, your 2018 Real Sim Racing All-Star winner with a full throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C. And the post-race show is next from Charlotte. You're watching your home for sim racing in iRacing Live.
I'm driving the number 20 JGR Toyota Xfinity car this weekend. Really great opportunity here at New Hampshire at my home track. Over the past few weeks, I've been on iRacing, practicing a little bit here and there with the modified and the NASCAR Xfinity car. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great tool for me to kind of get used to that stock car body again and be prepared for the race today. Well, yeah, it's a mile long, so the draft kind of plays into effect here with the modifieds. Punches a big hole in the air, and we run restrictor plates. So it makes a big difference. Just really fast, and it's our Daytona. So that's what's great about it, and we have a fast car for tomorrow. I think the biggest thing is they're heavier cars. The tire's a lot different. And the way you go about setting them up is a lot different. They use all 4 tires more than a modified, where we typically drive off the right rear, you know, so. Well, actually, it's funny. I raced NASCAR race in 2003 before iRacing came about. And then when iRacing came about, my friend Kevin Iannarelli, who works at iRacing, kind of told me, hey, man, you need to switch over to this. And when I did, I was like, oh, my God, this is like real life. So I started using it as a tool of mine to really prepare for modified races, whether it was Stafford or Thompson or Loudon, Bristol, and then obviously the Xfinity Series last year, going to road courses, trying to get laps, and use it as a tool that can get me as prepared as I could be without actually doing it. So it's been great.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing L.L.C. and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Dan.
We are back live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. How about that one, where the only thing on the line was bragging rights and they went at it at the end? A little bit of contact that I'm sure we'll be talking about for quite some time. We'll be back here at Charlotte 2 weeks' time with a lot more money on the line, and it'll be interesting to see, based on what we saw tonight, what goes down there for our 10th race of the season. But right now, as we welcome you back into LSRTV's coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto LLC, we say hello and welcome into the LSRTV post-race show. Brian, what a finish. Eberhardt barely makes it across the line. A record after he takes out the number 45 Ashed. That's the shot of the 90 coming across the start-finish line. That's an unconventional way of taking the checkers.
It absolutely is an unconventional way. I mean, that reminded me of back in the day when Kyle Petty did that with Davey Allison coming across to finish the All-Star race years ago. So just absolutely incredible. But what a win for Daniel Eberhardt. He gave it everything he had. But you got to feel for Carl Shed, because he was that close to coming off of turn number 4. And as you mentioned before we went to commercial, if they didn't make contact coming off the corner, Carl Shed was going to be your All-Star race winner for 2018. And unfortunately, he came home in 6th.
Carl Shed came into tonight 32nd in the standings. It would have been quite a result if he was able to qualify into this one and obviously get the win. Came up a little bit short. We'll get driver reaction in a moment. First, let's take a look top to bottom, recap it all with a look at your LSRTV full race results. In this one, Daniel Eberhardt takes on the win from 15th on the grid. Tommy Ryan comes home in second position. Andrew Faridar's third place. Spencer Preet comes home at 4th. Brandon Bowie in the P5. He's going to be the final driver of the score on the lead lap. Carl Shed does not complete the end of this one, technically speaking, and he'll end up with a P6. Dylan Jones, 7th. Seth the Merchant, 8th. They ranked it early. Brian, that's a look at your top 8 drivers who were able to make it home into this final segment. Let us know who came home 9th through 15th, qualifying into but getting eliminated in stage 2.
Yeah, David Comstock was the first driver to not make it into that final round. He finishes in the 9th position. Dwayne Vincent came home 10th here tonight. Lionel Callisto, after actually not even thinking he was going to be in the show, he didn't actually qualify in the All-Star Open, but because a couple of drivers that were in on points weren't here, he was able to make it in. He's going to come home in the 11th position here tonight. Sean Casto will finish in 12th. Kyle Kamer will finish 13th. Nick Silver came so close to being able to make it into the final stage. He's going to come home in 14th, and Gabe Wood will be the last driver that did not, or that actually made it through to the second round of this thing. He came home in 15th. The rest of the drivers, Evan Pasoko, came home from 16th through 23rd.
And those are the drivers who were eliminated after the opening 40-lap segment in this one, and they all end up over 30 laps out of this race. Going to be a P16 right there, as you noted, with Daniel Funkingham just behind Gabe Wood. Randy Oakham comes home 17th in this one. Shane Ewing's 18th. Brandon Whitaker 19th, and Ross Cato rounds out your top 20. Dwight Beverly, Drew Adams, and Mike Taylor did not have a very good start to that very opening segment. They will round out the field of 23 cars tonight in your 2018 Real Sim Racing All-Star Race. We go trackside, though, and we chat with the driver of the number 90 Ford Fusion. Daniel Eberhard is your All-Star winner from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Daniel, congratulations on the win. First and foremost, just talk us through that whole 10-lap run to the end that led up to the very end of this race and that contact off of the final quarter. We saw that you had a pretty comfortable gap. It got up to about a second or so after everybody behind you wrecked out. Second, third, fourth, they're all spinning and crashing. You have a big gap open up, and then you started to see the 45 closing in on those intervals. Talk us through it.
About lap 5, I hit the wall, and I felt like the outside was where I needed to be at the end. I knew I could get the run off and clear Carl if he was going to catch me. I just knew he was going to catch me. It just was really tight, and coming out of turn 4 for the checkered, I had so much will in it. I was fully committed, and I spun out, and I was pointed towards the grass, and if anybody I wanted to wreck, I wish Gabe Wood was sitting right there instead of Carl. So, I mean, it's whatever. I can't sit there and say anything else. I didn't want to win this way, and I was just having fun. I was enjoying it. It's supposed to be just a fun night off, and I didn't race Dover, and I was feeling good and out front, and that's not the way I wanted to win. I just corrected, and when I was correcting, I hit him. I didn't know if he was an inch lower, I would have never hit him. I mean, I was pointing towards the grass, but I was also cutting it right to catch the car, and if I would have caught it if he was just not there and if he was exiting lower, but we were coming to the end, and I had a feeling we were going to be leaning on each other, and if anybody had the best car, he won the Open in that 33 lap dash, and he was coming. I mean, I made a mistake and hit the wall, and I didn't want to win the race like that.
Tell us about, obviously those different lines we saw coming to the end. You were way up top on the outside of the racetrack, and that had been the better place to be to get the run off of the corner, made you better on the straightaways. And then we saw him way down low. You guys were pretty even, I'd say, in 3 and 4. It looked like he had the really good advantage in 1 and 2 when he was way down on the bottom and you were up top. And it looked like you maybe adjusted your line there on the last lap down into 1 and 2. You went lower, so he wasn't able to get right up next to you. And when he's able to get next to you, doesn't matter if he gets the slower run off of the corner, he'll end up more so at your bumper. It looked like it was key for you to keep him on your bumper there, and I thought that 2-car length advantage would have stuck in 3 and 4. Just tell us about the car positioning there on that last lap.
I was running the outside, and he was faster on the bottom. He was the one that I noticed him all night. He wasn't making he wasn't going to run up top. He was going to run the bottom, and I know Carl, he loves the bottom of the racetrack, and he doesn't like to change his line. When he gets comfortable, he's really fast, and I think tonight he was very comfortable and had the best car. And when I came out of 4, I got loose, and I was trying to save it. I just don't even want the win, to be honest with you. I mean, somebody I didn't want to wreck. I mean, it's my good friend. I see him on here almost every night, and somebody I've raced official racing with, and I wrecked him. I mean, there's no ifs or buts about it. I take it 100%. I wrecked him.
Of course, obviously tonight, as you mentioned, a night off just to have a little bit of fun with this All-Star race, mixing it up, segments and stages and all of that good stuff. We are going to get back to business here in 2 Mondays' time from right here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It is going to be what closes out the opening segment on this Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C. There's going to be people up in the top 3 in the points battling for the segment championship. Of course, that was going to be the longest race of the year, and it's just a regular season race. So you guys get back into the mentality of points racing. Anything that you can take away from here tonight that will apply, I should say, to that race when we get back at it?
The good thing is about it being the All-Star race, and you come back here. You said, Evan, we learned a lot tonight, and it's a very good race. And I mean, the All-Stars were out front. I mean, it was the guys that you see at the top of the board in the standings, you know. And I mean, Carl's been wrecked out of every single race this season, and you know, he was fast. So, I mean, if he comes back, what is it, in 2 Mondays, you said, he's probably the class of the field. It's going to be tough. I mean, Dylan was fast, Andrew was fast, and I believe DeMerchant and them were fast. I just think it was just a fun run, and nobody really put in the effort for this race, and we jumped in here and said, let's have at it. And I believe you'll have a lot more with that longer race. I believe you'll have a lot more strategy involved, and I believe that you'll see a lot more drivers running up against the wall.
Looked plenty competitive throughout this one. I know that we had a fun time up top, but I hope that you guys are able to have some fun as well. Trackside, we'll let you jet out of here. Daniel, as always, anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to all the Aegis guys and Dave and everybody, Andrew, Carl. I probably split the friendship down the middle tonight. I hate it, and thank y'all everybody for watching tonight, and thank my girlfriend, her little sister, and my grandma for watching in the other room, and thank you guys for what y'all do, and congratulations on pulling together another broadcasting company, and LSRTV is growing, and just hate it I did that, and just wish everybody a good night.
We appreciate your time, Daniel. Again, congratulations on ending up front and being competitive in this. What I think is the thing that you're able to take away for sure. And enjoy the off weekend. We've had a couple of them here at this little kind of mid-season break, all-star break, if you will. But we'll catch you here at Charlotte in 2 weeks' time. And if tonight was any indication, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about you. We'll catch you then.
All right, man. Thank you.
Race winner in the Real Sim Racing All-Star Race. And, well, Tommy Rod really had nothing to do with all of the late race drama in this one. He ends up coming home in second position, but we'll step down on to P3. Andrew Farinars is on the podium. Trackside with him is Brian.
I'm down here with our third place finisher, Andrew Freenars. Andrew, you had a fast car all night long. You won the opening stage of this race, and unfortunately that was the only time you were able to really be out in front. Once Eberhardt and Dylan Jones were able to get up there and be able to race with you, you just didn't really have the speed they had. Take us through your night, and obviously what led to your third place finish.
Yeah, came out just trying to have fun. I was surprised to even be in the lead. Didn't run a lot of practice. I think the only thing I did practice was getting on pit road at full speed, and we actually trashed that before the race started, so that was a little disappointing, but, it really just came out, no expectations. Was happy to lead some of that race and fell back to third there. I think maybe we had a little something for Daniel, but Dylan got in the wall, and I just kind of know where to go, but, still a really fun night. Happy to finish third, and kind of a confidence boost, especially after the disaster that happened at Dover there.
Well, and obviously when we heard from Dan in Victory Lane that not very many guys took this as seriously as they would have if it was the points race that we're going to see here in 2 Mondays from tonight. But you had to have learned something, being out there for 75 laps and getting to turn the laps and be able to run the race tonight. It had to give you the advantage that you might be looking for to maybe have that speed in our longest race here in a couple of Mondays. What did you learn tonight that's going to transfer over into that race in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, tires are really going to matter. That was a big thing. I think because it was such a short run there, only 20 laps, I pushed it, and it showed later in the run they went and passed me. So even a little 20 run is really going to matter on the tires. So got to save them a little better, and we'll improve over this in a 2-week break, and we'll come back stronger.
Coming off turn 4, when you saw the chaos happening in front of you, was there any part of you that thought maybe you had the opportunity to steal something if Tommy Ryan got caught up in it and Dan wasn't able to keep that car pointed in the right direction? Did you think maybe you had an opportunity to steal this thing tonight?
Not at all. I think I I felt so bad for Carl. Daniel just got loose there. I know some people are saying that, he wrecked him, but I watched the replay a few times. He just got real loose and just got into the rear of Carl and wrecked him. I was just heartbroken for Carl because he's really good here. He won the Open and, he was pretty much going for a win there, and I think he would have had it. But, when I saw that, I was kind of like, oh, don't get caught up in it. Just kind of come across the line. But, it's overall what I was seeing when it came out of 4 there.
It was 2 guys racing hard for an all-star victory, and that's exactly what you want to see. But before we let you go, Andrew, sponsor shout-outs. Who makes it happen for you on the 88 machine?
I got to say thanks to Andy, who put a great paint on the car this year. Got to thank my brother for building the computer, my dad, Sean, Steve, all the guys that watch, everybody at Aegis, David Washington especially, David Washington, Eric Stanford, Daniel Everhart, Dylan Jones, Carl Shedd, Ross Cato, Kyle Kammer, all these guys over there, and all the fans for watching. I hope we put on a good show for you all, and you guys for hosting. I know that got a little confusing there to try to get the field right, but it was fun once we did.
It was a lot of fun indeed, and we can't wait to do this again in 2 weeks' time. Congratulations on your 3rd place finish, and we look forward to hopefully talking to you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks so much. Happy Memorial Day to everyone.
Indeed. Happy Memorial Day. Andrew Freenars comes home in the 3rd position. A great run for him tonight. I'm going to step over just a couple of feet away where I'm going to catch up with our 5th place finisher, actually, Spencer Preet. Spencer, you had a wild night tonight. I think the theme talking about your car was how loose you were on corner exit. We saw you kicking that car sideways more times than not. What was the key to keeping that car pointed in the right direction for you?
I don't know, and I think that's why I wasn't able to really ever make a run up to the front. After a few laps, it just, like, the tire wear was a lot worse than I expected going in, and after a few laps, it would just kind of just wear away, and off 4 especially was the worst. It would start to kind of just feel light, and yeah, I had a few close calls, and I would have been in a better spot there to the end. I knew I needed to get around Tommy for, I guess it was 3rd at the time, after the first wreck in the last stage, and I was underneath him coming off 4, and we got together, and I went through the grass, and then from that point I was just trying to catch up and see what else I can make out of it, and hope that crazy things happen ahead of me, which didn't disappoint.
Indeed, it didn't. A big wreck coming off of turn 4, but you talked about it. You had that wreck at the beginning of this last stage. How hard was that to kind of overcome? Obviously, you were trying to work your way around it and not really lose a whole lot of time, and you were able to do so pretty well. You were able to stay within a second of the leaders, but when you know you don't have that caution to bunch everybody back up, how much more aggressive does it make you have to be when you're trying to make your way through a wreck like that?
Well, it made me overdrive it alongside Tommy off 4. I mean, it was... I kind of felt like I wasn't as aggressive as I could have been to miss it. I was still in the like mentality of, oh, there will be a caution. I wasn't really thinking about it, and so I kind of, I guess took my time with it. I probably could have almost held it wide open in the lane that I was in and been able to get around it, but I lifted out of it and I lost a lot of momentum, and so Tommy was able to get around me there and clear me in 1 and 2, and so from that point, like, I knew I needed to push as hard as I could if I wanted to even have a chance. I was going to have to be in 3rd and hope that the leaders did something. And, yeah, I pushed a little too hard off 4 and I think slid up into him. And from that point, I think I was running 5th or so. And it just trying to make the most out of that situation. And, yeah, I mean, that last, not having cautions in the last stage kind of definitely threw me for a loop.
And how much fun is it from a driver's perspective to come out here and have this all-star race where no points are on the line? It's just about going out here, having a good time, racing as hard as you can and going for the win. How much fun is that compared to the week-to-week grind of having to worry about points and trying to make sure you're in a position to go for the championship later in the season? You just get to come out here and have a good time for one night.
It definitely took a lot of the pressure off. I wasn't as concerned about pit stops and, track position as I would on any other night, and I mean, me and Seth were just in our TeamSpeak room having a good time, making jokes throughout most of the runs. Like, I mean, it was a lot more lighthearted, and there wasn't obviously not as much on the line. We're not racing for points, so it was this is the happiest I'll be after finishing 4th probably. So
absolutely a great run for you to here tonight. 4th place finish, as you mentioned, and what an incredible drive you had here tonight. Before we let you go, Spencer, sponsor shout outs. Who makes it happen for you on that 37 machine?
Shout out to everyone from Super Speedway Cup. Rest in peace. All my teammates. Seth was here tonight. Everyone else wasn't here. Rodney, Cozy, Travis, Rod. But shout out to all of them, and thank you for you guys for putting on this league and putting on a great broadcast.
Thank you, Spencer. Good luck in a couple of weeks when we come back here for our longest race of the season.
Thank you.
That was Spencer Preet. He finishes in 4th place somehow after being completely sideways all night long. And Evan Pasoko, after watching this 75-lap event, I have one word, and it is wow.
Yeah, I kind of, when everybody starts wrecking coming to the start-finish line, it's considered not the right thing to do to just stop talking. So you just kind of have to blurt something out and start screaming. But really at a loss for words when you get a finish like that. And I think I can echo the thoughts talking with Andrew there as well. That you watch the replay with Eberhardt coming off of the quarter. I think it was just so far behind the 8 ball that he really tried to dig coming off, and definitely not intentional contact. That wheel at no point is anywhere turned left, and it's just an unfortunate time that Shed was there. If Shed didn't get as good of a run, Brian, it might have been okay for him, because he just would have gotten hit on the door and that car would have bounced back up. But Carl Shed, man, you can't take anything away from the 45. Wins the Open, races into this one, and it almost races to a win from a 1-second deficit with less than 7 laps to go. He'll only be credited with a P6. If this was a points race, I would say it's a shame. It doesn't make a difference whether he was 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th at the end. So it is unfortunate that he doesn't make it to the end of it. But I think he came here and made a statement, not the result or the feeling that he wants to walk away with. But it was a very good night for Shed, and Daniel Eberhardt as well, equally impressive, setting himself up after starting 15th. That's in the danger zone to make the top 15 cut, to make the top 8 cut, and then to position himself on the top spot there, front row, for the final run to the end.
Well, I think I have to take what Eberhardt said in his interview in Victory Lane. He said that Carl Shed had a fast car, if not the fastest car here tonight, and I have to agree with that. After watching what he did in the All-Star Open race, dominating that race, I believe he led every lap of that race with the exception of the laps where people were coming to pit road, and then he comes into this race and he drives up through the field and he puts himself in a position, and if it weren't for that issue coming off of turn 4 coming to the checker flag, we'd have been talking about him winning this race and winning the All-Star Open race. And I think you have to look at that and you have to think about in 2 weeks' time, Carl Shed may be one of the guys to look out for in that race. And if he can keep that car clean, keep it pointed in the right direction, and not have any issues, we might be talking to him in Victory Lane here in just a couple of weeks.
And in a couple of weeks is when we will return. And it'll be the longest race of the season, Brian. Back here, Charlotte Motor Speedway, our version of the World 600. We just saw a 600-mile race yesterday with our friends at the Atlantic Majors Series, as always, covering their pro split action on Sundays. They did 600 miles. We're not quite doing 600. It'll be 50% length like always. So it'll be 300 miles coming up 2 Mondays' time. Longest race of the year. What do we look forward to in that one?
Well, I think obviously the drivers are going to be a little bit more patient in that race because they're going to have more time. They're going to have 300 miles, as you mentioned, so that's 200 laps around this racetrack where we only had 75 laps, and points are going to be back on the line. Plus, we're going to have the segment championship coming up where these guys are going to be racing for that championship for the first time here in the Full Throttle Cup Series. We're going to see that Brandon Bowie, Seth the Merchant, Michael Guerrilla, and Spencer Preet, all 4 of them are going to be battling for that segment championship. And as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, a little bit of money on the line for those guys. I believe you said 150 to first and 100 to second place. So going to be a little bit of bragging rights and a little bit of a payday for those drivers, whichever ones are able to finish first and second in the points. It's going to be very exciting. I can't wait to see how that shapes up.
150, 150 to 1, 2, and 3 in the standings. You are going to have to wait 2 weeks' time to catch us back for that one, but the good news is still a little bit of sim racing action coming up for you this week at LSRTV and iRacing Live. The Cars Esport Tour is back in action this Wednesday, May the 23rd. You can watch all of that live action right here at LSRTV and iRacing Live just a little bit after 9 o'clock Eastern Time. But if you want to see our full look at our broadcast schedule, go to www.livesimracing.com for more information on that. And of course, the best way to stay up to date with us, follow us on social media, a like on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official, and on Twitter at LSRTV. If you've been following us on any of those aforementioned places, you'll know that we announced today that we're acquiring the broadcast rights of PTR TV, making the LSRTV family a little bit bigger as we head into the end of 2018. You can find out all the info on that on our website, or you can get there directly. Just go to livesimracing.com/press, and you can read much more about that one. However, that does it for us here tonight at All-Star Night. So on behalf of our entire team at Live Sim Racing L.L.C, the folks behind the scenes, TJ Lyon, Laura Lawson, the people who are up at a booth night in and night out, and of course for your Monday night team, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Brian Macklin, and our producer Cisco Scaramuso, we want to thank you for tuning in. Congratulations to Carl Shed, the open winner, and congratulations to Daniel Eberhardt. He is your 2018 Real Sim Racing All-Star Race winner. We say goodnight from Charlotte, but we will be right back here in 2 weeks' time. The series is back on Monday, June the 4th. That race and every race of the 2018 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto LLC, can be found right here at LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night from NASCAR's backyard.